I knew something was rotting at Nexera the day I watched the new HR intern suggest phasing out the filing cabinets, while standing 3 feet from Janine, who was the filing cabinet. 12 years, 2 office relocations, and 3 server migrations, and Janine still knew the VPN passwords by heart and could locate invoice hash 443 Alpha Zulu from 2014 faster than Google. And yet there she was, eyes glazed, nodding politely while some 24-year-old in all birds explained how disruption requires discomfort. Every morning she'd clock in with a lukewarm coffee and a quiet kind of resignation. Nexera used to feel like a team. Now it was all branded mugs, Slack gifts, and people who said circling back with a straight face. Janine was still stuck training new hires who got promoted before their email signatures loaded. Her input wasn't just ignored, it was repackaged, upsold, and delivered back to her in a pastel PowerPoint. She didn't wear flashy heels or power blazers. Her uniform was quiet excellence, cracked reading glasses, a thumb drive on her badge lanyard, and that haunted look only Excel macros and unpaid overtime could give. But ask her where the legacy data from the 2011 merger lived, she'd rattle off server paths like a prayer. Some days, it felt like she wasn't in the office anymore, just haunting it. And if you're hearing Janine's story and thinking, damn, I've been her? Do us a solid, hit that follow button. 97% of y'all just lurk. Every subscription fuels our team to keep digging into these stories corporate would rather bury. Back to Janine. Nexera had changed. The walls weren't beige anymore, they were mindful gray. The break room smelled like protein bars and fear. HR didn't do birthdays now. It did wellness initiatives where someone would teach you to meditate through budget cuts. And the new HR lead? Kristen, with a K and a LinkedIn bio that read like a TED Talk synopsis. Fresh from Stanford, wore blazers with sneakers, and said synergy without flinching. Her squad had titles like Talent Optimization Partner and People Ops Innovator, which is MBA for We're Coming for Your Benefits. The writing was already on the wall. Janine's project proposals were ghosted. Her last 2 performance reviews were pending. She wasn't invited to the new process rollouts, even though half of them were built on spreadsheets she wrote during a thunderstorm in 2017 when the ERP went down and IT was drunk at a conference. There was a moment, early April, late enough for Hope to feel naive, where Janine tried to speak up during an all-hands Zoom. She brought up compliance risk from the API migration. Kristen blinked twice, smiled like a malfunctioning Alexa, and said, thanks for the historical context. Janine, historical context, like she was a museum plaque. She muted herself. That was the day she started packing up little things. Notebooks, personal mug. The stress ball shaped like a pancreas, a gag gift from accounting after her gallbladder surgery. She wasn't done, but she wasn't stupid either. Janine had survived long enough to know that when the whispers started and the Slack channels got quieter around you, you weren't being included in strategy. You were the strategy, and yet she kept showing up. Because someone had to remember where the bodies were buried, in code commits, expense reports, and grainy PDFs no one else could open. The storm was already building. It just hadn't struck yet. It happened at 4:52 p.m. on a Thursday, hour when morale is lowest, coffee's worn off, and hope smells like reheated soup. Janine had just finished explaining, for the 3rd time, that yes, the legacy payroll system did need to be accessed via Internet Explorer, and no, it wasn't just a her problem. She leaned back, stretched her wrist brace, and was about to shut her laptop when a Slack ping hit. You've been added to hash HR strategy realignment. The name alone was corporate cyanide. She squinted, assuming it was a glitch, maybe a misrouted channel. Her thumb hovered over the leave button until she caught a sentence mid-scroll. If we can phase out the Deadwood by end of Q2, the deck will look way tighter for Series D. She blinked, scrolled up, then down, Deadwood in bold, like a goddamn bullet point. Kristen's avatar hovered smug beside it, that same PR-polished selfie with her dog in the background, the one she used when firing people via email. Janine's brain skipped like a scratch CD as she read on. Legacy staff equals legacy thinking. Let's be surgical. If they push back, we make it about KPIs or performance growth plans. Nobody sues over growth. Another HR goon chimed in. Janine R. still signs her emails best. It's giving fax machine. Laugh reacts. Thumbs up. GIF of Steve Carroll yelling boom. Her full name. Janine R. She felt it like a slap. They had spreadsheets. Charts. Color-coded exit strategies. There was even a line that said target list. Janine Warren Lee Tiff, the one who smells like lemon balm. The blood left her hands, then came the nausea, then the rage. The hot, quiet, nose-tingling kind that doesn't scream, it simmers. She didn't speak, didn't slam her desk. She just clicked the triple dots. Save conversation. Export to PDF. Screenshots, full thread, just in case. Her fingers moved like she was diffusing a bomb. Maybe she was. Kristen kept going, just need to make sure the optics are clean. Can't have investor calls with people who remember the company before 2015. Another reply, yeah, we want fresh faces, not fossils. Fossils. That was the word that shattered whatever old-school corporate loyalty she had left. She laughed. A dry, broken thing, more wheeze than joy. Janine had missed her nephew's birthday to prep the last ops deck. Covered for Kristen when she accidentally forgot to file state compliance. She once stayed on a Zoom call for 9 hours straight because the new vendor dashboard wouldn't deploy and no one else remembered what SFTP meant. Fossils, huh? She scrolled down, heart pounding. One message simply read, "We'll start with Janine. Make it look procedural." No red flags, there it was. No speculation. No misunderstanding. A bullet with her name on it, wrapped in HR lingo and corporate cowardice. Her face was hot, her hands were shaking, and still she didn't cry. Instead, she opened a new folder on her desktop, labeled it just in case, dragged the screenshots in, duplicated them on a thumb drive, uploaded them to a private encrypted folder with a password so obscure it referenced an inside joke from a training in 2013. She sat there long after the messages stopped. The world hadn't changed, just confirmed itself. They saw her as a relic, deadweight, easy to erase. But Janine had just been handed the match, and the woodpile was already stacked. She stared at the folder name just in case like it might bite. Her laptop screen hummed faint blue light into the living room, casting long shadows over half-folded laundry and the takeout bag from Tuesday she still hadn't thrown out. Outside, some neighbors' wind chimes jingled against the July dusk, irritatingly cheerful. Her hand hovered over the mouse. Right-click, delete. She'd done everything right, hadn't she? Showed up, shut up. Cleaned up other people's messes and made it look like structure. Never asked for credit, just survival. And now this? She could practically hear HR's voice already. "We're sorry, but there's been a misunderstanding. You weren't supposed to see that. You're breaching policy by saving internal communications." Retaliation wouldn't come with teeth. It'd come with paperwork, subpar synergy, needs improvement, not a culture fit. Janine reached for her wine, then remembered she hadn't poured any, just holding the glass like a stress ball. Her thumb smudged the stem, her chest tight. Her phone buzzed, text from Mel. Mel, still working at Nexora or finally free? Janine, define free. Mel, working anywhere you're not Deadwood. Didn't reply, just stared at the blinking cursor. Back at Nexora, Friday was visibility day, HR's latest idiotic invention. You were expected to post in Slack something you'd owned that week. Most folks wrote vague fluff like streamlined backend alignment or delivered value-driven synergy. Janine once posted fixed the invoice system nobody knew was broken. No one reacted. Her heart beat like a drum under wet clothes. She reopened the screenshots. Watched the messages roll past again. Kristen's smug tone, the casual cruelty, the groupthink rot that had settled into the company like mold behind drywall. She imagined sending them to the board, the press, the whole damn internet. But then she imagined the other version, walking into a surprise performance meeting, having IT cut her access while she was mid-sentence, HR delivering a manila envelope with release language and a tight-lipped apology. Her stomach turned. A notification lit up. Slack, Kristen M. Changed the name of #HR strategy realignment to #people ops review. Then, you have been removed from this channel. Oh, so they noticed. She rubbed her temple, then unlocked her phone and dialed someone she hadn't spoken to in months. Mel picked up on the third ring. "Jesus, Janine, are you okay?" "I don't know," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "They called me Deadwood. They're planning to make it look like a performance issue. Holy shit." Mel was quiet for a beat. "Then, do you have proof?" Janine looked at her laptop, the folder glowing like a flare in the dark. "Yeah," she said, "too much of it." Another pause. "Listen," Mel said carefully. "I know you're smart, strategic, but you're not vindictive. Just pick your battles. I'm serious. HR has lawyers. You're one person." Janine nodded, even though Mel couldn't see it. Yeah, they hung up. She closed the laptop, sat back. Darkness pressed in. She listened to the fridge hum, the neighbor's dog bark once distantly. And in that quiet, a thought surfaced like a slow bubble from the bottom of a swamp. What if this was her battle? She didn't need a rally, didn't need applause. She just needed to know she wasn't the only one gaslit by the culture fit circus, trampled under the stampede of LinkedIn influencers in blazers. She opened the laptop again. No delete this time. No hesitation. Just a long, slow exhale. They think no one will care, but they're wrong. They will. Janine met Mel back in 2012, back when Mel still wore pantsuits and carried a highlighter in her blazer like a weapon. They'd survived 2 restructurings together, countless 2 a.m. vendor calls, and the infamous coffee machine revolt of 2016. Mel was the only person Janine trusted with her 3 a.m. meltdown texts, and the only one who ever noticed when she stopped signing emails with smiley faces. These days, Mel wasn't shackled to corporate anymore. She'd quit during the pandemic, scorched earth behind her, and turned full-time freelance tech journalist. Built a following, got loud. Her Substack blew up after she exposed that AI startup for using unpaid interns to train its algorithm. She'd always said, if you won't be heard in the meeting room, be heard in the court of public opinion. Twitter is my deposition. So when Janine called again the next morning, voice cracking just slightly, Mel didn't ask stupid questions. She just said, "Send everything, right now." Janine zipped the screenshots, redacted nothing. She didn't want to protect anyone anymore. It felt like peeling off her own skin, attaching the file, but she hit send. Mel's response came 11 minutes later, 2 words that punched through the fog, "Holy shit." Then a flurry of messages. "Kristen really typed this out loud? Oh my god, they actually named you. This is gold. You're sitting on a full-blown scandal." Janine's mouth twitched, a ghost of a smile. They jumped on a video call. Mel had the kind of face that aged well with fury, sharp, awake, glowing with purpose. She had 3 tabs open, 2 lattes within reach, and a sticky note taped to her wall that read, "Make them nervous." "This isn't just about you," Mel said, waving the PDF like scripture. "This is about every mid-career woman quietly erased in a reorg. It's ageist, it's systemic, and it's public relations poison." Janine let the words sink in like sunlight in a cold room. Mel kept going, already in war mode. "Listen, if you're going to go public, we need strategy. No random posts at midnight. You want traction. You drop this on a weekday morning. Between 9 and 10 a.m., right as East Coast tech starts doom-scrolling over coffee and the West Coast's just booting up. You hashtag the right combo, #workplace ageism, #tech layoffs, #Deadwood." Janine opened a new browser window, hands no longer shaking. "Make a burner Twitter," Mel said. "No personal info. Just the screenshots, the quotes, maybe a caption like, 'Hell, Kristen from HR called us fossils.'" "Oh, I dug up the receipts." Janine snorted. She hadn't laughed in 3 days. "You're not doing this out of spite," Mel said, leveling her eyes. "You're doing this because if you don't, they'll bury the next Janine too, and maybe the one after that won't have the receipts." Janine clicked sign up, new account, no photo, username, @fossil-fueled. Mel clapped like it was a baptism. Hell yes. Then came the drafting. She uploaded the screenshots, chose the most damning 5. The one where Kristen called her bad optics, the laugh reacts, the bullet-pointed phase-out list. She typed a caption, deleted it, tried another. Finally settled on, "They called us Deadwood in a private Slack. They forgot to remove me first. I didn't forget to screenshot." She scheduled the tweet, "Not for today, not yet." She closed the tab, heart hammering. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was more like making sure the knife got fingerprinted before it went back in the drawer. Janine leaned back, watching the cursor blink. For the first time in weeks, she felt seen, not as a problem to phase out, not as historical context, but as someone who could burn a system down without even raising her voice. The first sign was the calendar invite. Subject, performance calibration check-in sender. Noreply @NexorHRcom time, Friday, 3:15 p.m., corporate witching hour. No context, no agenda, just a quiet little dagger wrapped in Outlook blue. Janine stared at it like it had personally insulted her cat. She hadn't had a formal review in over a year, not since the last restructuring, when Kristen announced performance reviews were antiquated metrics from a non-agile era. But now, suddenly they were back. She checked her inbox. A second email was waiting. "Hi, Janine. Looking forward to chatting Friday. Just want to touch base on alignment and expectations." Kristen alignment, corporate code for "we're about to realign you out of a job." Janine didn't flinch. She just added the invite to her calendar. At lunch, she passed Ethan, some 20-something project coordinator who still brought his mom's Tupperware to work. He looked up from his phone, blinked once, then leaned in like he was about to whisper a secret about Santa Claus. "You didn't hear it from me," he mumbled, "but Kristen said she's identifying backfill options for your role. Contract-based, cheaper, said you were stuck in waterfall thinking." Janine smiled so wide it cracked the corners of her lips. "Thanks, Ethan," she said, voice like ice scraped off a windshield. "You should update your resume." He blinked, confused. She walked away. Back at her desk, she pulled up the burner Twitter. The draft tweet was still waiting in the scheduler, like a pit bull on a leash. Her finger hovered over the schedule button. One click, no undo, she clicked. Tweet scheduled for Friday, 9:30 a.m., right before her meeting. The timing wasn't poetic, it was surgical. A clean incision into the heart of Nexora's illusion. She didn't tell anyone, not even Mel. Some things are better detonated in silence. That night, Janine went home and cooked herself a proper dinner for the first time in weeks: salmon, roasted carrots, a glass of wine she didn't water down with guilt. She lit a candle, played jazz, let the burner phone charge quietly on the counter. She didn't sleep much, but not from anxiety, from adrenaline. A deep hum in her bones like something ancient and unstoppable had finally woken up. By morning, the air in her apartment tasted electric. At 9:30 a.m. sharp, the tweet hit. No filter, no softening. Just screenshots, tags, and cold corporate reality. The reaction wasn't immediate. That's the thing people forget, it takes a minute for the match to catch. But when it did, retweets, likes, quote tweets from employment lawyers, diversity advocates, and ex-employees she hadn't spoken to in years. This is why we need whistleblower protections. Deadwood, try backbone. She brought receipts. Kristen better lawyer up. Mel's article dropped at 11 o'clock a.m. on the dot. Title, Inside Nexora's Quiet Age Purge. Slack messages reveal internal strategy to phase out veteran staff, screenshots embedded. Timeline tight. No anonymous sourcing, just the truth in black and white. Kristen's name was trending before noon. Nexora's stock tracker dipped just slightly, a tremor before the quake. Janine sat through her performance meeting like it was a eulogy. Kristen logged in late, smiling tightly. She hadn't seen the article yet. "We're here to talk about expectations," she began. Janine nodded, expression blank as fresh drywall. Outside the meeting room, the war had already begun. And Janine, she wasn't just ready, she was weaponized. By By 9:45 a.m., the first retweet came from some tech worker with 18K followers and a bio that said burnt out but well read. By 9:51, an employment attorney had quote-tweeted Janine's post with "This is textbook wrongful termination setup. Hope she sues the Spanx off them." Then came the wildfire. Startup burnout accounts, worker solidarity pages. A VC-turned-activist with a podcast called Unicorns Bleed dropped a 3-thread reply and tagged 2 senators. At 10:02, Janine's post hit 5,000 likes. At 10:17, a screenshot of her Slack thread was trending under #Deadwood files. At 10:28, someone made a meme of Kristen's HR headshot next to a flaming log pile. Caption: "You called us Deadwood. We brought the match." By the time Mel's article dropped at 11:00 a.m., the damage wasn't just done, it was documented. Inside Nexora's internal Deadwood scandal subhead, exclusive screenshots reveal how HR targeted veteran employees for quiet removal. A whistleblower speaks out. Mel didn't go soft. She quoted the Slack thread directly. She named names. She called out the system, the culture, the hypocrisy of a company that marketed diversity of thought but couldn't stand anyone over 40 who didn't wear all birds. Emails started landing in Janine's inbox like hail. Subject: "Just read it. Holy SHT, I'm so sorry." Subject: "They did the same thing to my team. I'm out now, but thank you for saying something." Subject: "You're braver than I ever was. Watching this unfold with popcorn and vengeance." Then came the DMs. Quiet, panicked, careful. Coworkers she barely knew reaching out through burner accounts. "I've seen them do this before. Kristen's been talking about a culture reset for months. I have a doc I think you should see." Others stayed silent, logged off, disappeared from Slack. Some were probably scrubbing their names, trying not to get caught in the fire. Janine didn't blame them. The system had teeth. Not everyone could afford to bite back. At 12:12 p.m., someone from HR, not Kristen, sent an all-staff email. "We are aware of recent misinformation circulating online. Nexora takes our commitment to inclusion seriously and is investigating the matter thoroughly." Misinformation, the gall. Kristen didn't post, didn't tweet, didn't even Slack. Her account suddenly showed last active 4 hours ago, like someone had yanked the Ethernet cord from her little glass conference room. Janine leaned back in her chair and refreshed Twitter. The tweet was past 12K likes now. Mel's article was in the sidebar of The Verge. Company's internal dashboard, one of the few systems Janine still had access to, showed user traffic spiking. Clients were logging in. Stakeholders were watching. Investors were calling. The PR team, usually silent as ghosts, had just put the Nexora Instagram account on private. Comments disabled. She should have felt giddy. Should have popped champagne. But all Janine felt in that moment was a low, simmering buzz. Righteous, electric vindication, and a tiny, creeping whisper in the back of her head, "They're going to come for you." HR had gone quiet, not because they were helpless, because they were calculating. She kept her phone nearby, she kept her folder backed up, and most importantly, she kept recording. The avalanche had started, but Janine wasn't at the bottom of the mountain anymore. She was the one who kicked it loose. The invite came through Slack this time, not from HR, not from Kristen, from public relations. "Hi Janine, would you have a moment for a brief sync with our comms director and legal liaison? Just want to make sure everyone's aligned and supported during this difficult moment." Aligned and supported. Translation: "We're panicking and you're a liability with a Wi-Fi signal." The call was scheduled for 3:00 p.m. Janine wore lipstick. Red, not because it matched anything, because it didn't, because it dared them to ask. She dialed in, webcam off. Voice greeted her, smooth, non-regional, the kind they train in executive coaching seminars. "Hi Janine, thanks for taking the time. We know things have escalated online and we just want to clear the air and figure out a path forward that works for everyone." 3 faces, no cameras, just initials in neat little circles like poker chips laid flat. PR took the lead. "Obviously, some internal communications were taken out of context. And while we understand your frustration, we're hoping to resolve this amicably." Janine said nothing. She just pressed record on her phone, off camera, tucked behind a potted plant that hadn't been watered since March. Legal piped up. "We're prepared to offer a gesture of goodwill, a modest package, clean separation, no admission of wrongdoing on either side. Standard NDA language. You just agree to take the post down and refrain from further engagement." She let the silence breathe, let it ache. Then finally, a gesture Janine repeated, like a card with a candle in it. Janine, PR started. "You called me a fossil in a Slack visible to half the department. You outlined a strategy to phase me out and make it look like my fault. You laughed, you branded it strategy. And now that it's public, I'm the problem." More silence. "The kind you could spread on toast." Then she said it, calm, precise. "The way a scalpel says goodbye to skin, you'll give me full severance. A positive exit letter, per-written, signed, and PDF'd. Immediate resignation effective today. You'll honor my remaining PTO. No clawbacks, no gag order." Or she opened her browser, clicked refresh. The article was on Business Insider now. The tweet was closing in on 20K likes. She could almost hear the Nexora board's collective blood pressure spiking. "I spend tomorrow in 3 more interviews. I heard ProPublica's curious. Vox too. And I'd love to talk about Nexora's 2018 restructuring and the contractor funnel Kristen used that somehow always excluded women over 40. Someone inhaled sharply through their nose. PR tried to regain footing. There's no need to escalate, Janine cut her off. You wanted quiet? You should have kept me invisible. I told her they'd need to review terms and circle back. She told them they had until EOD. She ended the call, took a sip of water, then opened Twitter. She didn't post another statement, no follow-up thread, no hashtag storm. She just posted a single emoji, firecracker. Within minutes, her DMs blew up again. Someone from marketing sent her 3 flame emojis and a thumbs up. A senior engineer, laid off the year before, messaged, just saw the bomb drop. Emojis in the Louvre now. Kristen still hadn't posted. HR was still ghosted. And Janine, she wasn't done yet, but she was winning. That afternoon, Nexora posted one of those limp, corporately neutered apologies on LinkedIn, the kind you can smell through the screen. Blue banner, sans serif font. A stock photo of 2 people shaking hands like they just settled a lawsuit off camera. At Nexora, we value transparency, respect, and inclusion. We are listening. We are learning. We are growing. They didn't mention Janine. They didn't mention the words Deadwood, fossils, or the fact that half the internet had seen their HR Slack thread get flayed alive by public opinion. But they did include the phrase "our people are our greatest asset," which, at that point, was like saying your funeral will have great catering. It took 17 minutes for the post to get radioed. 1,200 comments, 3 reposts, 9,000 downvotes. The top reply was from someone who screenshotted Janine's tweet and simply wrote, "If this is how you treat your greatest asset, what do you do to your interns?" By 3:45 p.m., Nexora's Instagram was set to private. A travel influencer tagged them in a story and wrote, "We love brands that call their employees fossils." Cute. Glassdoor, a crime scene. Anonymous reviews flooded in, some real, some definitely rage fiction. The titles alone told the story. Ageism is the new synergy. Good luck surviving Q3, sweetie. My boss used to say people over process. Turns out he meant you're fired. Janine sat on her couch watching the fire spread, not giddy, not smug, just quietly astonished that the thing worked. She hadn't hired lawyers, hadn't leaked to WikiLeaks, hadn't screamed or protested or called anyone a monster. She just posted screenshots, told the truth. Lit a match? At 4:22 p.m., she got an email from an anonymous Proton Mail account. No subject line, just a forwarded memo. Internal only urgent briefing. As a result of this week's events, Nexora has experienced a temporary dip in investor confidence. Leadership structure and internal operations will undergo board review effective immediately. Crisis comms protocol is now in effect. No staff are permitted to comment externally. Janine read it twice, then again, then just stared at it, mouth dry. She stood, walked to the kitchen, pulled out a half-dead bottle of Malbec she'd been saving for a good enough reason. She poured a glass full, no shame, and took a long, slow sip. It didn't taste like victory. It tasted like a long exhaled breath after being underwater too long. The system didn't protect her, never had, but this time it answered. Her phone buzzed, dozens of alerts. Articles, memes, DMs. Shots? One former colleague had edited a pic of Janine onto Joan of Arc's body with the caption, "She burned the old world, now they want her ashes." Janine laughed so hard she almost choked on the wine. Then she set the glass down, leaned back on her couch, listened to the hum of her fridge and the war drum of notifications. She was waiting for one final ping, one last message, one final act to seal it. She didn't know where it would come from: legal, PR, maybe even the board itself. But it would come, because they didn't have a choice anymore. It hit just after sunrise the next day. The final article, front page of Business Insider, cross-posted to Yahoo Finance, and plastered across every HR group chat from here to Palo Alto like gospel in Comic Sans. Former Nexora analyst exposes ageist layoff culture, goes viral. Subheader: screenshots show internal Slack messages referring to veteran employees as Deadwood and detailing quiet terminations. There was a photo, not of Janine, but of the Nexora building in shadow with a caption that read, "She didn't burn it down, they handed her the match." And in that moment, Janine didn't feel powerful. She felt finished. Not like an ending, but like punctuation. A sentence closed, a chapter turned. At 10:47 a.m., her personal inbox lit up. Subject: severance agreement, final draft attached, 6 pages of corporate surrender, full severance. PTO paid in full, positive reference letter. Exit effective immediately. No gag clause, no NDA. The payout was more than she expected, way more. Enough to pay off the last chunk of her mortgage and still leave room for a few reckless decisions. She laughed when she saw the total just once, like the sound of something old finally breaking free. No apology, of course. That would imply accountability. But they paid, they bled, they bent. She opened the letterhead PDF, fancy language, glowing remarks, dedicated, solutions-oriented, a valuable contributor to operations. Kristen didn't sign it, someone hired did. Janine saved it anyway, just in case. The original headline, the one from Mel's article, was already showing up in HR Slack channels nationwide. Someone told her it was now required reading in an ethics seminar at a mid-sized SA firm in Seattle. Another HR consultant posted it in a LinkedIn slideshow titled, "How Not to Handle Workforce Realignment." Janine screenshotted that too. Saved it with the rest, not out of spite, out of memory, out of proof that she wasn't crazy. Out of spite and memory, she updated her Twitter bio, Deadwood burns. By sunset, the flames were everywhere. She deleted Slack from her phone, blocked her old work email, lit a candle that smelled like cedar and smoke, and let herself feel it, something between vengeance and peace. She wasn't trying to be anyone's hero. She just refused to be their collateral. Outside, the sky glowed orange. Inside, the fire had already done its work. Nothing left to phase out. No one left to replace. Just ashes and silence. And her, finally, blessedly free. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.